There are days, weeks, months, or years where it just seems like it is not our day, week, month, or year. The past couple of months have not been the easiest for me, but in all honesty, standing where I am now, looking back, with a bit more perspective, I've realized they weren't particularly hard either. It was all in my head. In times like these, when I get a little too far down the bottomless black pit of a rabbit hole that is my mind and forget about the world around me or about being present, it's important to remind myself that the primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it. Perspective alone can determine how we choose to make sense of the world around us. We can't control what life throws at us, but we can control how we react to life's occurrences. Taking a step back every once in a while and looking at our lives and our realities a little differently is one of the simplest and most powerful ways to recharge our batteries, recalibrate, and refocus on the road ahead. The first thing I like to ask myself is, where are you? On the surface, this is a pretty silly question, but bear with me for a second. So I ask myself, where am I mentally and where am I physically? Mentally is a little harder because you do have to do some mental gymnastics to figure out where exactly you are and not to be stuck somewhere in the future or somewhere in the past. So to ask myself where I am physically is actually the easiest way for me to reground myself and for me to be present, just by asking myself, where exactly am I right now? Am I in Japan, like this B-roll, or am I at home in my apartment, standing on wooden floors, observing my surroundings? There's a roof over my head. I can drink water from the tap water if I want to. There's just flowing water. With all of this, it's just taking a look around me, soaking in all that's around me, and making note of the details of my surroundings, things that I would normally just glaze over. When you're just not present, you don't focus on the things around you at all, no matter if you're inside or outside or home or abroad or anywhere. While you're looking around, make a mental inventory of everything that you see around you. Make a mental inventory of everything that you possess. Or it can be making a mental note that, wow, it's so great that I get to see with my eyes, and that my eyes work, and that my body works, and that I'm breathing, and that everything is working the way it should. One thought that keeps me grounded in the most turbulent and stressful of times is to remind myself that a lot of people would actually leap at the opportunity to live out our worst case scenarios. When being grateful for what we have and when being appreciative of what we have gets shifted into expecting things and expecting an outcome for the things that we're doing and for the work that we're putting in, that's actually where most discomfort, pain, and suffering comes from. I love this quote from Seneca: "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future." And I'd say the past as well. Another question I like asking myself is, do you have to do this? Because no, you don't have to do anything. We get to do what we want to do. And I think this was one of the most liberating thoughts and realizations I came to, that no, I don't have to wake up every morning. I don't have to wake up early in the morning. I get to wake up, and I get to wake up early in the morning so that I get to have time to do the things I want to do and to have and enjoy some quiet, peaceful me time instead of rushing to work, rushing to wake up, rushing through the rest of the day. And when I was in school, no, I don't have to go to school. I get to go to school, and I get to learn as much as I allow myself to learn. I don't have to work. I get to work, and I have the choice to choose the work that I want to do, or at least work towards some sort of a goal of what my dream job or dream life would look like. So again, we are so lucky to be able to have choices, to dream, to turn dreams into reality. We really are our own biggest obstacle, our minds. We think we're not good enough. We think all these things. We think we can't do it. But in reality, if you really believe in yourself, if you believe the universe has your back, we don't have to do anything in life. We get to do everything in life. We get to experience life. And it's such a blessing that what I'm talking about now, I'm like, duh, but when you're not in a good place, you're just like, why do I have to do all that I'm doing? Why am I even doing everything? Where is this all going? Anyway, moving on. This is something that I started asking myself recently. Do I really need more in my life? It's the whole adding versus subtracting. Instead of what can I add into my world to make my life better? The question that I start asking myself is there something that I can remove from my world to make things better? It's kind of like honoring your life and removing all things that doesn't spark and bring joy into your life. For me, it's pretty painful in terms of trying to look inward and figure out what I can let go of. I'm only one person. I can only do so much with YouTube, with Beauty Within, with all the things that I'm doing. So how can I let other people in to help me instead of being a perfectionist and wanting to do everything on my own? How can I allow help from other people so that I can focus on what is most important? So removing all of the distractions, not even distractions, but just removing things that may be taking more time than it should, and just really focusing on the things that matter the most. And of course, we can talk about stuff and things. We don't need more stuff and things. Those are all desires and those are all wants. They're not needs. I've talked about this before. We don't actually need much in our lives to be happy, to sustain, to live, and to just be. I ask myself, when I'm really stressed or when I'm really overwhelmed, will any of this matter when you're 80 years old? When you're sitting on a rocking chair overlooking the beautiful ocean, if you love the ocean, looking over the mountain top and over the woods, if you love the woods, if you love being in a cave, whatever, wherever you want to be, anywhere you are, if you're on the moon, anywhere. Will this matter when you're 80? And the answer is probably no. Like, if I'm being really honest with myself, 99.9 of the things that I'm worrying about right now and that's stressing me out probably won't matter. So it's like, if you're not going to worry about then why worry about it now? Instead of spending time worrying, think about solutions or think about ways that I can move around that or figure out ways to move beyond that in a very graceful manner. Is this a mountain or is this a pebble? I'm paraphrasing the founder of Fallen Dafa, my spiritual practice, with this analogy, is that when we look at a problem and see it as a mountain, then it's going to seem impossible for us to overcome that problem or that issue or that situation. But if we instead were able to look at this mountain and scale it down to a little pebble, then it'll be so easy for us to just take a step over it. So this is so helpful whenever I'm going through rough times or when I'm stressing or when I'm feeling overwhelmed, to remind myself that anything that is initially started as a mountain or anything that I see as a mountain in my head or on my horizon, my mind has the power to shrink it down to the size of a pebble. But, it requires, if I want to, do I have the perspective? Do I have the willpower? Do I want to? Because, sometimes you just want to cry in front of a mountain and you just are there for a bit. But, the ability we all possess to turn a mountain into a pebble. Do you really believe the universe has your back? When I came to this realization, it actually put me in tears because I realized what I'm going through really isn't anything compared to what I'm about to say. So, human suffering, our own suffering, we as humans suffer because it is what it means to be human. And the sooner we can accept this and embrace this as a part of our lives and as something that can help us improve and do better and to embrace instead of push away and treat it more as like a positive versus a more negative thing, the easier our lives will be. And this is because we are responsible for our own lives, so we are responsible for our suffering. So if you believe in a creator, if you believe in the universe, if you believe in a higher power that is in control of everything, if you believe in God, imagine the suffering that this being is bearing for humankind, for humanity. right? Like, because the creator is responsible for all lives. So the creator is responsible for bearing the suffering for everything, like all lives here on Earth, or maybe even the universe. And when I came to this realization, it just made me see that my problems really aren't that big of problems. That if I can minimize my problems and exist in a state of being more present and more grateful instead of being stressed and overwhelmed and not okay all the time, then it will be less of a burden to this higher being that I believe exists. This was probably the most helpful and impactful thing that I came to the realization of. And regardless if you're spiritual, I think at the end of the day, realizing that if we can take control of our own lives and be less of a burden to society and be less of a burden to those around us, to the world, and instead be a more proactive member of society, and instead making it a better place and making our existence of significance, of helping others, of giving back, that's a very, very beautiful thing, because I think it takes a lot to come to that realization. And you could come to it many times and you can forget, like me, and then you come back to it again, and then you forget, and then you come back to it again. So with all of that, thank you guys so much for joining me. This is, I honestly don't know what form this video is going to take as I'm recording the voiceover, but I hope it's great, and I hope you guys love it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Sending you so much love, voice hugs for days, and I missed you guys. It's good to be back. Bye. Ma, my love for you is long like the bamboo.
Oh,
So desu ne.
how tall is it?
Very tall. Yay.